I have had this for a bit now, and a few people asked me about it, so here is my take. This is the kind of portable battery power you buy when you want something that can run more than phones and laptops. I see it fitting people who camp out of a vehicle, people with an RV, folks who want a quiet backup option at home during outages, and anyone who needs to keep a few important things running without dealing with a gas generator. The first thing I noticed when I started using it is that it feels serious in the hands. It is not a small battery you toss in a backpack. It has real weight to it, and that changes how you use it. I can lift it and move it around with the built-in handles, and the handles are placed well enough that it does not dig into my hands, but I am not walking far with it. For me, it has been more of a lift it out of the garage, set it near the kitchen or the patio, or load it into the back of the car kind of thing. The casing feels like it can take being bumped around, and the feet help keep it from sliding when it is sitting on a table or the floor. What makes this one interesting in real life is not just that it has a big battery and a strong inverter. It is that it is actually usable when you are tired, stressed, or in a hurry. The labels around the ports are clear, the buttons make sense, and the screen is easy to read from a normal standing distance. I have used power stations where the display is tiny or confusing, and you end up guessing. Here, I can see what is coming in, what is going out, and roughly how long I have left based on the current load. That has been one of the most helpful parts for me, because it changes how I plan what I plug in. Ports and layout are practical. I have run a mix of things at the same time, like phones, a tablet, camera batteries, a small fan, and a laptop, and I did not have to play musical chairs with adapters. It has multiple alternating current outlets. And it also has multiple direct current options, including 2 high-powered United States of America Type C ports that can charge a laptop at full speed. It also has the usual direct current car-style outlet, which I have used for a small air pump and a cooler. The spacing between outlets is decent, which matters when you have chunky power bricks. Setup was simple. I charged it from a wall outlet the first time, then I tested it with car charging, and then solar. From the wall, charging was fast enough that I did not have to think about it. In my own timing, from low battery to full, I was seeing under 2 hours in normal home conditions. That is the difference between something you actually keep topped up and something that sits empty because charging is a chore. Car charging works, but it is slow, which is what I expect. I treat car charging as a way to add a little extra on the way to a campsite, not a way to fill the whole thing. Solar is where I had to be a bit more intentional. Solar panels are not included, so you need your own setup. I used a smaller solar setup I already had, and the built-in solar charging controller did a good job holding a steady input when clouds passed through. On a clear stretch of sun, it was consistent. I did not have to babysit it, which is what I want. I will say this though, you need to manage expectations. If you are pulling a lot of power while also trying to charge from solar, you are basically treading water unless you have a lot of panel power available. In daily use, the screen ends up being the center of the experience. I like that it shows input and output clearly, and it updates fast enough that you can see the impact when you turn something on, like a fridge compressor kicking in. It also helped me learn what is worth running on direct current instead of alternating current. When I charged smaller devices through the Type C ports instead of using an alternating current adapter, I could see the efficiency difference on the display. The battery lasted longer for the same real usage, and that is the kind of practical detail that matters when you are trying to stretch runtime overnight. I tested it the way I think most people will actually use it. At home, I ran my refrigerator, my internet setup, and some lights during a short outage. The big question for me was whether it would behave well as a backup without me babysitting it. This unit has an uninterruptible power supply feature, meaning if you have it plugged into the wall and you have devices plugged into the power station, it can switch to battery when the wall power drops. I tested this with my desktop computer and monitor, because that is the kind of load that is sensitive to a sudden shutoff. The handoff was clean in my test. I did not see my computer restart and my monitor stayed on. That is the kind of thing you only trust after you have watched it happen yourself. Camping use was similar. I ran a small electric cooler, charged camera gear, and used a fan at night. It was quiet, and that matters when you are trying to sleep or when you are around other people. The cooling fans do turn on, and you can hear them, but it is not a harsh sound. It is more like a steady airflow noise, and it did not bother me. I also tested some higher draw appliances because that is what people are curious about. I used a microwave for quick heating, and it handled it without drama. I tried an air pump, and it was fine. I also tested it with a camper air conditioner briefly. It ran, but you can watch the battery drop faster in real time, and that is the honest reality with air conditioning on battery power. You can use it to take the edge off during the hottest part of the day, but you are not going to run air conditioning all afternoon and all night unless you have a much larger setup, or you are charging aggressively at the same time. Battery chemistry matters for safety and longevity, and this one uses lithium iron phosphate. In plain terms, I feel more comfortable keeping it in the house and charging it in the garage because this chemistry is generally more stable than the older style lithium-ion packs. They also claim a long cycle life. I cannot personally verify thousands of cycles, but I can say it has behaved consistently across the charge cycles I have put on it so far. No odd dips, no sudden shutdowns, no strange heat issues. It gets warm under heavy load, which is normal, and the fans manage that. Now for the limitations, because there are a few. The weight is the big one. If you are expecting something you carry around a campsite, this is not that. I also think you need to be realistic about how you plan to store it. I keep it where I can grab it quickly, but I am not moving it every day. Another limitation is that the whole experience is best when you understand your loads. The display helps, but you still have to learn what your fridge pulls, what your heater pulls, what your coffee maker pulls. Once you learn that, this becomes much more useful. On the software side, some versions of this category of power station have mobile app support. If yours includes an app, the main value is checking status and toggling outputs without crouching next to the unit, especially when it is in the trunk of a car or tucked under a table. In my use, I still rely on the screen most of the time because it is right there and easy to read. I see the app as optional, not something you need in order to use the product. After using it in both home and outdoor situations, my overall impression is that it is a practical tool when you actually need real power. It is not a toy, and it is not a tiny battery pack. It is something I use when I want quiet backup power for important stuff, or when I want electricity at a campsite without fumes and without the constant noise of a generator. The strengths are the usable power output, the clear screen, the port selection, the fast wall charging, and the uninterruptible power supply behavior that worked the way I expected in my own tests. The weaknesses are the weight, and the fact that solar is an extra investment and requires planning if you want fast recharge off-grid. If you are deciding whether this fits you, I would think about what you want to keep running and for how long. If your goal is to keep a refrigerator cold, keep internet and phones up, run some lights, and power a few appliances in short bursts, this has been dependable for me. If your goal is to run high-draw appliances for long periods, you can do it, but you will be managing battery life closely. I will post full information about the GRECELL H2400 2400W portable power station in the comments section. See you in the following videos.